Now moving on to Urban Square. So that's the third service that we are going to discuss today. And here we are talking about climate resilience decision support tool that is dedicated to urban stakeholders. So basically, it tries to answer the question as precisely as possible of what is the projected scenarios for air quality in a destination, for urban heat in a destination. What are the risks of sea level rise and how this would impact the coastal regions, flooding risks as well, and then infrastructure resilience to different crisis scenarios. So it enables both real-time monitoring, but also predictive capabilities with high-resolution modeling, climate modeling, combining DT, Copernicus, Sentinel, and in-situ data. Dynamic interfaces with near real-time or seasonal delivery, depending on the risk. What-if scenarios, quite rich a set of what-if scenarios. It's built for municipalities, urban planners, and emergency response teams. The five verticals that Urban Square addresses are air quality. So first, 1 kilometer resolution, near real-time monitoring of air quality on the area of interest. But also what-if scenarios. A concrete scenario is, for example, in a specific neighborhood in the city, we are going to have an increase in the population of 10, 15, 20%. How would this impact the air quality in this area? So that's a concrete example that is modeled through Urban Square. Urban heat. So here we have the land surface temperature mapping, and on top of that, the urban heat in the area. And also before after policy comparison, for example, to say, okay, we will change this part, we will do greening, for example, in this area of the city. How would this impact the urban heat island effects? Sea level rise, we have a 3-meter resolution inundation maps that supports the 5 SSP scenarios with 7 storm surge levels, different levels, to see how coastal areas will be impacted by sea level rise, be it in an extreme event modeling or natural climate change induced sea level rise scenarios. Floods and resources. So here we have the riverbeds that would flood in the city centers. So we have a 30-day AI water level forecast, and we calculate the building and population exposure to this risk. And finally, infrastructure. And here we have a sub-meter road damage mapping, where we basically before and after a disaster, we assess the status of the road network in terms of accessibility, and we derive a road damage index and that we map on the road infrastructure. This is how the different interfaces of the different verticals look like. So air quality, so you can see here the air quality parameters, and then you have these drop-down part and the right part of the tool that enables you to play different scenarios, what-if scenarios that we mentioned earlier. Urban heat in a similar way, you have the current status, and then when you perform a scenario here, when you put in the parameters for a specific scenario, you can see the map with the projected scenario, how it will look like, and then the graphs also allows you to compare these different scenarios together. Flood and resources, this is the riverbed, for example, and then you can see the extent of the flooding, or the potential flooding on the different infrastructures in the city. And finally, sea level rise, and here you can see what would be impacted in coastal areas depending on the SSP scenarios and the different parameters that has been set. Urban Square, as it was designed earlier, it was really demonstrators that were focusing on specific areas. For example, in the city of Toulouse, where we are based, and then we had other demonstration cities. But all underlying data sets have a global coverage. So we are looking to extend actually Urban Square for it to be a global tool that can be applied and where the data can be derived anywhere, basically, start with in Europe because this is where we have the most accurate data sets, and then probably extend this further. The consortium was composed this time. It wasn't only Murmuration working on this. I mean, the implementation was composed of Systema, Mosaica, and Imperative Space, along Murmuration, that we put all of these demonstrations in place. Who can use the service? So it's municipalities and urban planners, emergency response and civil protection, national and EU policymakers. The user journey is again quite similar and to the Tourism Square one, where you should connect on the tool, select a risk, for example, air quality, heat, flood, etc. Then you explore the data, simulate, and then export at the end. Urban Square, powered by Destination Earth capabilities. Again, IAM, monitoring, and runtime are key for this service as well, for the user management and for checking the status of the deployed artifacts. Destination Earth datasets. Again, the climate change and the adaptation digital twin is quite key, enabled by the access to the DestinE data lake. Data sources comprises Copernicus datasets, including ERA5, for example, but also atmosphere datasets, the ESA world cover, land cover, that's also quite important for Urban Square, precipitation, soil moisture, vegetation index, and finally high resolution satellite land cover mapping generated for the demonstration sites that we have. The service was developed and deployed in the period from November 2023 till June 2025. And if someone is interested in the service, they get in contact with us and we see how to deploy it on their specific city, or probably in the future we'll have the opportunity to deploy it and for it to be scalable, just like Tourism Square and Calif that you've seen.